exactly the same. And I just felt like I was barely breathing, barely finishing the minimum to keep the house clean, watch the kids, and accomplishing nothing outside of that. Having no dreams outside of that, no energy for myself or for pleasure.
When you ran into people and you described to them what the home situation was, like, how did they react and how did it make you feel?
I thought I was taking a free ride.
And they're like, must be nice.
Yeah. Thought I was taking a free ride and that I just had all the time in the world to do whatever I wanted. But I felt the exact opposite, and everything I was doing was expected. And so there was no good job at the end of the day. It was just everything was expected.
No
to survive.
appreciation.
Yeah. I had no energy to pursue the things I thought were valuable to me. When it was time, when I had a brief moment, I just wanted to sleep, to nap, to turn off, rather than recharge in a different way. I couldn't ask for anything more than what was on the plate, and that was enough. Before I got married, I could do whatever I wanted. My life was filled with physical activities, physical and mental activities, and leisure. I could sit at a coffee shop for hours, read a book, stay up late, sleep in.
So to go from that into living the exact same day every day with no appreciation, what was that all for?
It seemed like it happened very abruptly. There was like, all of a sudden, boom, I was there, and there was no turning it off. So it seemed like it was just a completely different life. Like it was a life I was never going to get back to unless I left my new life, my married life, completely.
Did you miss your old life?
Yeah, I felt like freedom. I felt like I lost that spark. Definitely lost that spark. I stopped caring what I looked like. I got scraggly, I got skinny.
Yeah. It's pretty a high expectation to put on people to just expect that they should lose everything that has given them satisfaction up until that point and just be satisfied with nothing. It's hard to get nothing when everybody's telling you that you're getting everything.
When on paper it looks pretty nice.
Of course. And so the trade-off for that is like, yeah, but you're married now, so what were you getting from marriage that was so great that made it all worth it?
I guess just that title. I was just getting that point in my life, that transition, and now I'm a father, so I have children, and that's a wonderful thing in its own. You should be grateful for that. Our sexual timing was never linked up. We didn't have any moments together. I'd get horny at the end of the night and watch porn, jerk off, and wish that I was fucking my wife, but never would, and just keep repeating that cycle. So I was used up by the time maybe she was horny, but we never spoke about sex. It was just like sometimes we'd have some sex.
It's sad. It's sad. Did you know anybody that had been in that situation that had gotten through it?
And not at that point in our life. The only examples we had were people that were in it even more deep, with older kids and
even
more resentful. Yeah, more bitter.
It must have been hard to feel like you were grinding from sunup to sundown and not get any appreciation for that.
It was hard and it felt just endless. There wasn't much motivation. I was smoking a lot of weed, numbing myself, and that way, that was the substance I was using. A lot of weed, a lot of coffee.
It seems lonely. Were you lonely?
Yeah, I was lonely. I was curious about what else was out there. I didn't have any friends to talk to understand. No elders either.
If people were looking at your life from the outside, do you think that people would be like, oh, there's probably problems going on? What did it look like from the outside that didn't give away what was really going on?
From the outside, we had all the amenities we needed.
Mm-hmm.
We were fed. Our bills were paid.
We got along.
Yeah. From the outside, it looked fine. People were always telling us that it looked like we had a great life.
Mm-hmm.
We had a house, vehicles, toys, animals, all the things a married couple does.
Mm-hmm. You couldn't complain.
Mm-hmm.
You can't complain. So it was 2021. I had just had our second baby, and I worked really, really hard during the pregnancy, and my daughter was born on the first day of what was going to be my maternity leave. And so I just never got a break, and I was, starting to realize like I'm never gonna get a break. We made really good like recurring income, but as far as like having big savings to rely on, the pressure to be constantly making money was always there on me. For every new dream, for every new activity, for every new thing that we wanted to do, like the pressure was 100% on me. And I was going through so much at work all the time, especially having like a public facing business. So there were so much criticism, so much harshness, so much difficulty management. There was problems going on left, right, and center in the front of house of the business, in the back of house of the business. And I felt like my business was like this red-headed stepchild that only I loved, that nobody wanted to hear about, that people kind of wished wasn't really there, and not to talk about it too much, and just kind of make it happen. But I felt like I was always, you got to be more present and you got to be off of your phone more. But we had made this agreement when we first met, like I was more equipped to provide for the family at that time than my husband was. And so we made this deal of like, okay, well, I'm gonna work and he's gonna watch the kids. And there was this idea I had that would be what was expected of me, to just provide for the family. And as I became a mom, realizing, especially working from home, that it was going to be an uphill battle to just get the bare minimum done every single day. And there's no appreciation for it. Like it takes so much to get the paycheck. And then in these moments, every one or 2 months where you're like, wow, look, these are the numbers we did. You're like, oh, good job on that. But the truth is that it was 24/7 work, and there was all of these little fires that I was always putting out, and all of these business goals that I really wanted to reach, but there was no way. I like knew what needed to be done, but I just couldn't seem to stop putting out fires for long enough to do what needed to be done. And I didn't share any of this with anybody. I had an assistant that I was basically just paying to be able to have somebody see how hard I was working and appreciate what I was doing, because to have people that don't understand what you do telling you good job or bad job is just annoying. And like as a, if you're the breadwinner, that, it would be like if you're into working out and someone's like, oh, nice abs, I'm gonna get abs like that at the store. You're like, fuck you have no idea like how much work goes into creating this result. So I was becoming more and more private about what was going on, but between caring for a new baby and caring for my older child and keeping the business running, I just didn't have time for anything extra. And what I needed from my husband was like, can you just fucking be there and not complain about anything? Like, can you just be there and not complain about anything? Can you just put a fucking smile on your face when I walk in the door and not act like being with the kids for a couple of hours is like the most fucking exhausting thing in the world that you have to do? Like, I was spread so thin between my family commitments and my work commitments that I just had no space for anyone else needing anything. I was like, I need in my relationship you to just give to me and let me take from you to balance out all of the places where I feel really incomplete in my life. I just had another baby, and so I'm not sleeping. I'm being sucked on, grabbed on, mommy, like all day long, and sex is the last thing on my mind. Like, if there was somebody else that I could delegate the sex off to, I would be, I would have had no problem with it. I'm like, everyone just leave me, just leave me alone. And from the outside, I was hearing all the time from people who I was living their wildest dream, oh, you've got it made. And there were so many things that I still wanted to achieve and that I still wanted to do, but I felt like I couldn't complain at all. We had achieved, we had paid off our house, we had all of these things. Our business was, semi-killing it. And I just didn't feel like I could complain. And I was starting to think that maybe that was just the best that it was going to get for us. The truth is that I was a working from home, breastfeeding mom to be able to, I was doing all of my work while the kids were napping, sucking on my tits. Like, I had
life and work were just overlapping.
We're just overlapped, and so it seemed like, and there was such a big to-do list of things that I wanted to do, and because I felt like it was always, I was trying to be chill. I actually just didn't have boundaries, but I was just trying to be chill and okay, well, I was gonna go to work, but everyone seems to need me here, so instead I'll do this. But it ended up me just trying to like squeeze in work in all of these places, and it just felt like I was working all the time and not getting anything done. I felt like I was working all of the time, that work could just kind of rush in when I was least expecting it, that there'd be some huge breakdown that I would have to fix. And I couldn't even take the time to communicate this to my husband. I said I was going to be here and I can't because a work thing came up, and I can't give you more details than a work thing because you don't even know what I do. And it just felt like being overworked all the time in every situation, with everyone being like, well, why do you have to work so much? But not ever had my husband been like, that's okay, I'll work. You don't have to. It's like, I don't like that you're working so much, but I'm not going to do anything about it. So it was hard. It was hard.
And you didn't feel like you could express that to me? Like, I'd understand any of it?
There was so many demands. There was the demands of our children. There was the demands of the business. Like I said, our monthly revenue was really good. We did really good on a month-to-month basis. But when it came to having savings to be able to relax on and not take a break, everything in my life needed constant attention, and it needed constant attention from me. But what I had put on the back burner for so long was my marriage. So I'm like, okay, business needs constant attention from me. Kids need constant attention from me. And as long as you need no attention from me, it'll be okay. But if you need even one thing, like if you get sick, or if you're emotional, if you're mad at me, or you feel like you're overworked, like all hell would break loose. There is no way that we can have a calm conversation about this. I'm going to blow up at you at how easy it is to be you, and you're going to come back with how easy it is to be me, and then we're just, and it's not going to get anywhere. We're just going to both walk off. Did the thought of getting divorced ever cross your mind?
It didn't.
Why?
I wanted to break the cycle of my parents. Having kids felt like the only thing that I couldn't walk away from, but I also couldn't enjoy my life the way it was. So I was stuck. I didn't know where to go.
Divorce was completely off the table for me because without a doubt, I was completely committed to the kids, completely committed to the family, completely committed to the business. I just wasn't really committed.
We thought we had enough love from the beginning just to last us a lifetime.
Yeah, and we had always been, you know, not really into the institution of marriage, not opposed to an open marriage. We'd studied Tantra, so, you know, that's all poly world, and I didn't think divorce was ever going to be something applicable to us until, you know, we were starting to develop arrangements for an open marriage, and you know, maybe I'll watch the kids half the time and you can go do your thing, and then you'll watch the kids the other half the time, and I'm like, this sounds like a custody arrangement. This doesn't sound like an open marriage. This sounds like breaking up without wanting to say we're breaking up.
And lucky for us, when we were dabbling in the idea initially, we were in the middle of nowhere. So it's not like we could select someone to hook up with that was nearby. It was all something that would require a lot of energy to get to them.
But because there was no way of acting on it, there was no way of ruling it out. So it was a long option for a really long time that prevented us from ever seeing, like, if there's a mess in this relationship, you're going to have to clean it up. And if it cools off, you're going to have to heat it up. So now our relationship is balanced. So you guys will get basically no continuity shot-wise in this whole video. And we won't expect continuity from y'all either, that you'll have to sit down and watch everything right in a row. Like, we don't have a nanny. We do all of this around our kids. So sometimes our work and our conversation takes place in many little moments throughout the day.
I have had the same shirt on the whole time though.
Yeah. And that'll probably be true for all of this week. So what was the continuity is that we keep showing up though. We keep showing up, even if the house is a wreck. So we talked about the pain. We talked about everything that we were going through, but what was it'll be funny almost now, but what do we now know was the problem that was causing us all that pain?
The problem was the erotic was dead in every place of our lives and relationship.
Very simple. The erotic was just dead. Because the erotic dies when you aren't aware that it exists. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I had no idea what the erotic was, or that it could die, or that it happens to each and every person in the whole entire world. I had no idea that this constellation of problems that we were having, the lack of libido, the dissatisfaction in every area of our life, the stupid squabbles, the cooling down of a relationship, the inability to scale in my business, not knowing how to ask for anything else because we're so satisfied with what we have, feeling like we can't complain, becoming disillusioned with every single area of our life, being burnt out in an industry that I'm supposed to in love with, and the general fucking malaise that is when something that was new becomes old, and now you want something new and you don't know what to do about it. And this is the biggest secret that we uncovered, and now it's like the easiest thing for us to spot. But when this was happening to us, we were rolling around in pain and had no idea what this was or what was happening. And there was no one that we could ask about it. We're told in life and in spirituality and in just general society that the desire for more is either something spiritual and godly or material and worldly. And I just want you to pause this and think for yourself, like, have you been told in your life that wanting more was a spiritual and a good thing, or that it was a greedy and a material thing? The majority of us were told that it's a greedy and material thing. And the truth is that it's neither. The erotic is its own thing. The desire for more is as inherent to the human psyche as the physical aspect of life and the spiritual aspect of life. It's almost like when people say mind, body, spirit. There's the body that wants more in the material world. There's a spirit that wants more in the spiritual world. But then there's the mind that wants more for the sake of wanting more. Because if you want more, you'll stop doing the bare minimum in life. If it wasn't for this function of wanting more, people would have never made art, because what's art for? It's just beautiful. You don't need it. You don't eat it. But it makes things beautiful. It keeps you aspiring to more than just the bare minimum. And when people are aspiring to more than just the bare minimum, they're unpredictable, they're uncontrollable, they're never satisfied because they're always seeking more. But when you aren't told about this and you aren't taught how to make something that became old brand new again, you by law are going to fall out of love with everything that you once loved so much. And if we looked back on before we were married, we were allowed to do this. Love this job, hate this job, fired, quit. Love that girl, no longer love that girl, dump her, done. Love this car, now I don't love it, done. This got old, new wardrobe, new everything. But all of a sudden in my life, I'm like, here's somebody that I don't want to get rid of. And here's a business that I also really love and don't want to get rid of. But how can I accept that, like, I love something so much, but I'm not in love with it, and I want to be in love with something?
And something's got to change.
And everything has to change. Like I said, wanting more makes people super uncontrollable and super unpredictable. But when you're trying to take, let's imagine you have 3 kettlebells, one for your desire, one for your spiritual pursuits, and one for your material pursuits. If you're trying to take that 3rd kettlebell and either fit it in the spiritual or the material category, it's never going to be balanced. It's never going to be balanced. And when you're constantly have your desire in a place where it can't be balanced, what happens is you repress it, and then you run off with your assistant. And then you burn your whole business to the ground. And then you have one bad argument and the D word comes out and it can never be taken back. And that's just that.
Or you just play super little because you're afraid that what comes out of you may attract somebody else or something else. You're just scared.
And the interesting thing about this is that the most common way that the dead erotic expresses itself isn't in this like, oh, I want more, but I'm going to give up. It's in not knowing that you can have more. So saying, I guess I'm fine with this. I guess I'm fine with never having sex. I guess I'm fine with having a partner that I'm not really like close to. I guess I'm fine with having an open marriage. I guess I'm fine with never having a bestseller. I guess I'm fine with living here forever. It's settling and settling and settling and settling and settling. And the desires never go away. They just start to fester. Exactly. They just start to fester and make you sick. So we only
angry at everybody else in your life and yourself.
And when you don't know what this is, like us, you'll be nitpicking at every little problem because you don't know that it's connected. You're looking for what's to blame. Why did this fall apart? It fell apart because that's a law of nature. And we only found out about this because we had tried fixing all of these disconnected problems. Well, maybe it's the sex. Well, having sex doesn't fix the fact that you don't want to have sex. The more you have sex when you don't want to have sex, like if you like get in like the Tantra world where they're like, oh, just have sex for 40 days. Dude, by the 3rd day, you're like, we got to do something different because it was never about the sex. It was about wanting it in the first place. So we're nitpicking the business and we're nitpicking the relationship and we're nitpicking who's doing the dishes and we're not talking to each other and we're both unsatisfied and we're both jealous of each other and we have no way and there is no one that we can reach out to for support because we both come from very broken families that are still picking the shrapnel out from a divorce that happened decades ago. You know? They're not happy. We don't have any friends that aren't breaking up. The friends we have that are in like successful marriages are like secretly fighting all the time, and not so secretly swingers, not so secretly polyamorous. So it's like, okay, so who do we ask? I know not online and not in person a single person that's in a monogamous, or a single couple that's in a monogamous relationship where they're still in love with each other after all these years. And even if I would have been able to find one, you're like, oh, you know, what's the secret to a happy marriage? And they tell you like one thing that worked for them, but it doesn't really apply to you. So when things started getting to this point in our marriage, we were like, well, you know, what do we know? What's the solution? What's the solution here? We had no idea that it was something, that it was, you know, that the erotic was dead. We didn't even know what the fuck we thought that the erotic meant, like sex. Didn't know it had anything to do with desire. But we're like, okay, well, you know, who can we ask? I had been studying Tantra for a while, you know, since like 2016. And it really just seemed, somebody asked me the other day, like, how did it possibly seem like a good idea to open up your marriage? It's like, does Tantra once? Like that's like what's not, everyone's like, oh yeah, sex magic, like it's amazing, Tantra. Now the only thing is, always get someone new. When things get old, just get someone new.
Yeah, well, that's what we had done in the past.
Mm-hmm.
In relationships that didn't have kids involved, that weren't super committed.
We weren't swingers in the past.
No, but if a relationship was getting old, the sex was getting old, you just
just get a new person.
Yeah.
Not really, you know.
Yeah, so we reverted back to old thinking and a new dynamic.
Mm-hmm. And like I said, we were super committed to the family. So whatever it takes to like make sure the family's okay, that our kids aren't traumatized and everybody has a happy life, that's fine. We'll just secretly open up our marriage. We'll just secretly start seeing other people.
Only be excited about fucking other people.
Yeah, and it works in the short term, you know, because you get these little erotic fantasies that come here, like we could do this and we could do that. And before you know it, you're boating like mad, but it's not sustainable. And when the relationship is breaking down and there's this like dangling tantric dildo of like, look, this is the secret to happy marriage. Don't be monogamous. Have multiple partners. Does it get a little weird? Sure. Does your husband sometimes have kids with other people? Sure. What's the problem? What's your resistance? And we had met a couple people that were like very advanced down this stage, and there's a fucking body count, like it gets sloppy. Everyone's just, oh, we love it so much. Oh, this is the best. You just have to do it. And monogamy is a natural, like, blah, blah. And for that crowd of people, I say, keep doing your thing. And if you're that type of person, like this might not be for you, but if you're wanting to preserve, or not just preserve, but like reheat and continually reheat the marriage and have something get more and more interesting over time and fall more and more in love over time without having multiple partners, well, we're just about the only people on the whole internet that are making a stand for that cause. So, but what was it costing us to have this like undiagnosed dead erotic? What was it costing us?
It was costing our relationship.
Mm-hmm. Our relationship wasn't getting the attention or the repair that it needed because we were just like, okay, cool, like on to the next thing.
Yeah, we're outsourcing.
And there was so much, looking back on it now, there was so much that needed to be resolved and healed in the relationship that was going to finally give us what we had been looking for. But as long as we were like, you know, let's just keep going in this direction, we couldn't do that work. And it seemed back then, you know, talking about it now, but it seemed back then like I felt like I was just in a position that you could never relate to. I'm unappreciated. I'm unsatisfied. I know how I want to grow, but I just can't seem to get there. I'm so busy putting out fires. I can't do the things that I want to do. I'm unfulfilled, but I can't complain. And like, you were going through the same exact thing in your own way. We were going through the same exact thing, and we couldn't seem to see that. And what we understand now that we didn't understand then is that when you're with your person, like your for real person, like if God came and said, you know what, I really think you need to break up with that person, you'd be like, fuck off. Like, no, this is my person. When you're with your person, there is only one way that you're going to be able to move forward, and that's together. Whether you like it or not, if I want to go forward in business, I have to go with him. If he wants to go forward creatively, passionately, in any direction that he wants, it's only going to be with me. And we were both trying so hard to pursue what we wanted as individuals. We had two great ideas for our life, but we didn't have one vision, one common goal that we were working towards besides keeping our family together. And as a result, we were both really, really stuck, really, really unsatisfied, and really, really alone in a marriage.
Looking back, it's also much easier to just focus on hooking up with other people as the solution. Much easier solution. Didn't require us to put any effort into our relationship, and it was again just a old habit, an easy old habit to pick up. And with those old habits, it was old ways of going about hooking up with, or potentially hooking up with, other people too, and it could have really got tricky, you know. Hearts that got involved,
and something that was also key to understand, it's like I said, I was breastfeeding, I had a lot on my plate. Sex was the furthest thing from my mind, but my dreams and the life and stuff that I wanted, that was always at the forefront of my mind. And how men and women experience the erotic is different because we're just set up differently. We have the same properties, but they're arranged differently. And so for men, it'll be the physical is the main aspect of it. I want new sex. Do I think about myself staying up all night talking with somebody? No.
But maybe in order to get laid.
Yeah, I think about myself staying up all night fucking somebody, you know? Like if I wanted to have a nice long talk, I'd be with my wife. But for women, it's not about the sex, it's about the romance. It's not the porn, it's the movie scene. It's the whole story. So when the erotic is dead for a man, he might crave new sex, but when the erotic is dead for a woman, she craves a whole new life with a different version of her in it, where she is experiencing not just, you know, a new physical experience, but feeling bright-eyed and bushy-tailed again about everything in life. So for me, the idea of opening up a marriage wasn't to be able to get like pounded out by a stranger. It was to have somebody be interested in me and curious about me in a way that it seemed that only somebody who's just met you or is new to you will be interested in you like that. Cool. Good work. So fortunately, even if you're lying to yourself about the quality of your marriage and how happy and fulfilled you are, numbers never lie. And it's one of the reasons why we focus on wealth as half of this workshop. At least numbers are always, you're like, we have this much money, they have that much money, I want more in that sense. Or we have this house, they have this house, we want a house like that. Fortunately, when it comes to like the immediate living situation and the numbers in the bank, that's something that's pretty easy to assess that you're lacking in that department. And you'll never be able to grow how you want to grow financially without reconciling these inner forces inside of you that are preventing you from wanting more in all areas of life. So it kind of hit us like a ton of bricks. We were like, all right, it hit us like a ton of bricks. We went from saying that we were never going to sell our house to 2 weeks later, the house was listed and sold. We had a vacation coming up, and we were in New Mexico, and our vacation was like a lake house in Texas. And we just decided that we didn't want to drive back. So we hustled, we packed everything into the truck, and just assumed that when it was time for us to buy a new house, that within 6 months we'd do some magic. And we had heard a little bit about sex magic up until that point. We're like, oh, you make a wish and blow a load, right? And you get whatever you want.
We just thought we were special and something was going to plop down in our laps.
Yes, definitely. And we had all of this misinformation about sex magic, but we never bothered to look and say, hey, the teachers who are preaching this method, what have they been manifesting for so long? And have they gotten it? Because if the teacher hasn't gotten it, it doesn't work. So we had a 6-month-old baby. We packed our 2-year-old, 3-year-old at the time. We packed everything into the truck and we hit the road. And every little crack in our marriage, we lived in a really stable environment, super predictable, not a lot of change. And in hindsight, for a while, just that distraction of like, we could move somewhere else and we could get a new house, like supercharged our relationship. Mm-hmm. We were working together, busting our asses.
We were working together to move.
Mm-hmm. Working together to move.
And if we had kept that mindset and that force and applied it in different areas, we would have been unstoppable at that point. But we both just went in different directions. And
as soon as we still had these like notions in our mind of an open marriage or non-committed, etc. Never swinging. It's not like we didn't have these fantasies like, oh, I'm gonna hook up with someone else and you can be there watching. You can be there participating. It was very independent, just like everything else that we were interested in. But we realized pretty abruptly that we didn't want to be on the road. And at this same realization, realized that it took us a while to get this, but that a good market to sell a house in is not a good market to buy a house in. And all of the houses that we were looking at were in the vicinity of like $2 to $4 million. And we were like, okay, let's bring in sex magic. Every little crack in our marriage started to become amplified. So if we, now we had emergency reasons. Okay, so now I really need to work twice as much, and you really need to watch the kids twice as much. And we're going to start a new workshop. We're going to call it Erotic Wealth, and it's going to be a sex magic workshop, and we'll just throw it together like we, like how we've usually done things. The pressure that I felt as the breadwinner was 100 times stronger because I felt like my family would never be happy or stable until we got in a new house. And his lack of awareness about like how the business runs and how the money was made, made him feel like his part of it was just picking.
And again, I had that lack of awareness. Initially, I thought that I would just have an offshoot of her business. She taught the women and I teach the men. It would be a separate thing completely. We weren't talking together, and I just thought that people were going to show up because of what she had been doing already, and I knew nothing about it, and that flopped.
And I was doing that classic like breadwinner thing where it's like, let's just give you a job so you can look busy, so you can feel good about yourself, and you can get off of my dick about going to work. Let's just give you a little job. You teach the men in the class. There were no men in the class. There were no men in the class because I was a disgruntled woman teaching more disgruntled women. So we were like, okay, well, let's learn about sex magic because we need to learn how to do this fast. And actually, when we first started putting this workshop together, we didn't really know where to start. So he was literally going down to 6th Street in Austin with a video camera asking, can I ask you some questions about sex? Literally like asking people.
This is when we thought also that we wanted to have a sex club, open up a sex club.
Oh yeah, so things started to get pretty weird pretty fast because we had been studying sex magic I had been studying the Taoist method, the Tantric method, the Neo-Tantric method, the modern swingers, this whole world of doing things, a world of sexual repression, and there's 3 types of magic that we really rest on in our school, teaching people how these different types of magic work. And whenever you change which one it is that you're focusing on, it kind of moves it repositions everything else. So the ultimate focus of our life at that point was either to like pursue our desires or establish control. It wasn't about pursuing what's destiny, what's spiritual, what's correct, because we were just trying so hard to stabilize. And when I tell you that the worst expression of myself came out, the fucking worst expression of myself came out. But the basic summary of sex magic is that you have two beings united by one vision. And we, in no way, shape, or form, had a shared vision of what we wanted besides we want a new house. But we didn't even know where that house was, what it was going to cost, what we wanted it to look like. We were all over the place. We were so used to having our separate lives that being united in a vision was just not possible for us.
We pretty much had from Texas all the way to the East Coast as an option.
And then
Costa
Rica. So yeah, we went from Texas all the way to the East Coast and then back and then back. And during this time we were like, well, if we just, we've been told that if we just do sex magic perfectly, that, it's make a wish and blow a load.
I thought I was going to fall in our lap. If someone was going to say, wow, these people are great. Here's a house with this crazy
we hadn't, we'll give it to you. We hadn't updated our methods. And this is always a sign that it's time to grow, when all of your old tricks and techniques for whatever, whether it's in the business or the relationship, when all the tricks suddenly stop working, it's time to grow. And a lot of us don't want to do this because it means updating every area internally and externally of our lives. So we had this idea that if we just did sex magic perfectly, that it would happen. And if it wasn't happening, it's because we weren't doing sex magic perfectly. And we were resting.
Put a lot of pressure on sex.
So much pressure. Almost as much pressure as people put on themselves when they're trying for a baby. So much pressure to get the sex perfect. And what we understand now is that it's not about having like a tantric event. It's not about having new sex. It's about having a tantric life. It's about having a new life. It's about changing all of the conditions of your life so that everything you do is magic, not fucking shitting the bed everywhere else and then having, we had sex perfectly and poof, everything changed. It doesn't work like that. It's never worked like that. And people that are telling you it works like that, where are their dots? Where are their husbands? So they're off with their second wives. So we practiced every single type of magic. We started with white magic, all the different Kundalini, that type of stuff, vision, just power your way through. Studied Crowley and magic, ambrosia, blood and semen. We drank that. Tried all the different tantric, tried Egyptian alchemy, tried invoking the goddess, tried seeing each other perfectly, tried holding the vision, tried the Taoist way, moving the energy up and down your spine, ejaculating into the third eye, and nothing ever happened. And you know how long it took us of actively trying to do each one of these methods perfectly, studying, researching, practicing, implementing all of these methods perfectly? It took us 2 years. 2 years of not getting a house, 2 years of being at each other's throats, 2 years of after sex feeling like we fucked something up. We should have just done that one other thing perfectly. 2 years of doing things like drinking blood and semen. 2 years of, there's just one more book to study. There's just one more thing to study. There's just one more thing. And 2 years to basically suck it up and realize that we were only going to go forward together. That there was nothing that we could do to shine up the front end of the business when our engine was fucking rotted out. You can't build anything on a shitty marriage. You can't build any success on a home that's not stable. You can try as much as you freaking want, but it's like building a castle on sand. And when it crumbles right in front of you, you will be so embarrassed. We wanted to be a success story. We wanted to be a success story in business. We wanted to be a success story in our relationship. But the fear during this time was that we were going to be a public failure, just like everybody else that we knew. So when we finally realized that no one and nothing was coming to save us, we were like, instead of trying to break into this new territory of sex magic, why don't we approach sex magic the same way that we approach everything else, which is understanding that faith without works is delusion. And when I think about us going and looking at these $4 million houses, delulu.
Owner financing.
Sending videos. Hi, we're the Kuskabe.
Yeah, we want to buy their house.
Delulu.
Super delulu.
Completely. What it ended up becoming is that, look, you want a new life. And that new life costs more money. And in order to get more money, you need to recognize, you need to be in love with the vision for your life. And the vision for your life is not relegated to business alone. Your life is a complete picture. It involves your family, it involves your business, it involves your spouse, it involves your home. And if you were to actually look around your life, you would realize that you picked one area to nitpick about, one little place where you can flex your power and flex your control because it makes you feel like the rest of your life is doing okay. It's not. It's not. When I look back at our videos and stuff in New Mexico where I'm like, wow, like we've got it made. It was our dream house. It's like a fucking rat trap, you know, like it wasn't that great. But when you're surrounded,
it was the first home.
Of course.
It was
of course. But is it everything that we were, you know, when you think,
we were gonna bring in water.
We were playing so small. We were playing so small. Mm-hmm. And you guys are playing small too. So what we were able to develop after years of testing, after years of implementing is instead of making it this, you know, new thing that we're going to break into, which all of the experts insist works, let's break it down just like we break down everything else. The Enneagram is an objective 10-step to-do list for any and all things. Anything you want to create, anything you want to maintain, an Enneagram will show you that there's a 10-step process how to do it. It's very ancient magic. It's what I've devoted my whole career to. And it helps us take something that's like etheric and like, and just bring it into a working to-do list. You do the steps, you get the results.
So Erotic Wealth is 2 workshops, erotic and wealth together, 2 Enneagrams, how to make an old marriage new again. You do the steps, you get the results, and how to quantum leap into your next wealth era. Another way of saying this is 10x. You do the steps, you get the results, it's law.
But you don't get the results at the halfway point of the race. You get the results at the finish line. You get the results at the finish line. And in order for us to accomplish this, we need to not just work in the business area, we need to work in the area of your marriage as well. And a lot of people, the majority of people that apply for this, we're gonna say, I don't think you're a good candidate for it. And they get really, really mad. The reason why is because before we can alchemize marriage, which is taking the shitty parts of it and making them the most beautiful, we have to reveal the marriage. We have to reveal the true state of the marriage. This wasn't easy for us. The true state of our marriage was that we were on the verge of breaking up and we were calling it Tantra. We were on the verge of breaking up and we were calling it, you know, the future of relationships, the key to happy. We were this close. You guys are one bad argument away from splitting up. It's kind of like when people kill themselves a lot of times. It's not like their whole life was such a struggle. They got really fucked up one night and couldn't take it anymore. That's that bad argument that ends a marriage. You just get really fucked up one night on anger and resentment, and it all comes out and you can never take it back. No relationship is so bulletproof that one bad argument and a shit ton of resentments couldn't kill off the entire thing. And when a marriage breaks up, it's not a breakup between the dad and the mom. It's a breakup. Every single person in that family gets dumped. And the heartbreak that they feel, children should not have to deal with breakups so early in life. So before we can heal the marriage, we have to reveal the true state of the marriage. This can be very uncomfortable, but it doesn't have to be. We'll keep it short, we'll keep it funny, but you have to do the work. After we reveal the marriage, we can heal the marriage, and after we heal the marriage, we can alchemize the marriage. We can take old sex and make it new again. We can take an old life and make it new again. We can take an old partner and make it new again. But it doesn't happen. You don't get the result at the halfway point. You get the result at the finish line. So this is now our 3rd round of doing erotic wealth. So the first round of erotic wealth, you remember the first round we did?
That was the one where we didn't have any students. We were just kind of laying down the formula, and you got your knee injury at the end of it. So what we got from our first round of erotic wealth was a real ass family business, a real split down the middle, both of us working together at our new family business. My personal business burnt down to the ground, rebuilt as a company with both of us doing the work, both of us teaching, both of us onboarding the customers, building an app, building out. It was one of the most proudest moments.
And it took me getting injured to do the things that were uncomfortable that I thought that I couldn't rise up to. So
yeah, and you guys
just rise up.
Yeah, you guys will have. We'll be able to save you hopefully some injuries.
The burning and the injuries.
But when you just refuse to work together and you just insist that you couldn't possibly enjoy being, compadres.
Talking to each other about business.
Yeah.
The likes.
Yeah.
But it's much better than talking to each other about what's for dinner.
Yeah, exactly. And also, that whole journey of life I had where I'm like, I'm not going to share with my husband what I'm going through because he's too stupid to understand what I'm talking about. Like that was going to be sustainable. Like we were going to be able to go on with me shushing my husband and giving him little projects to keep him busy, and it wouldn't eventually lead to mutual resentment and disrespect. Like all of these little tricks that you've been saying, it's cool sweeping stuff under the rug, like they're still there. So when we say we have to reveal the marriage, to heal the marriage, to alchemize the marriage, we mean it. But the nice thing about this workshop is that we focus on wealth simultaneously. So this isn't a dredging up of the past. Like we're not marriage counselors. We're not trying to be marriage counselors. We're not trying to do any unnecessary work. We're not trying to have you guys talk. It's mission focused. Results.
Past is the past. Let's just move forward.
Let's just move forward. You want a new life. It costs more money. If the money's just coming through one partner, it can't be controlled. They're not letting you in. Mismanagement is leading to micromanagement. It's become a huge fucking pain in the ass. We need to either scale the business or develop a new income stream. So let's put our heads together, decide on the vision that we want, and start to boldly pursue it. So at the finish line of our first round of erotic wealth, we got a real ass family business. Second round of erotic wealth, at the finish line, we bought our house, which as you can see, we are in right now and we love very much. And now it's time for the next round of erotic wealth, and we want to invite you to do it with us. I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a second, but for this round of erotic wealth, what's the vision, Dan? Well, on the business side, there's always an erotic side and there's always a wealth side, but on the business side, starting to book tours together. Woo! Big new journey. We've just been teaching online this whole time. A very big new journey, very overwhelming. So on the wealth side, that's one aspect of it. And then on the erotic side, just like kind of the vision board for our life.
Might be another residence in a completely different environment. Not that we don't absolutely love where we are, but
we know now from erotic wealth, like just because we love where we are doesn't mean we can't get more. And we never want to be so satisfied where we say we don't want more. We're in our 30s. We want more and more and more.
This and not this or.
Yeah. So now our vision is on potentially getting a second residence in Costa Rica. So we'll see how that goes. There's always a vision that you start with, and then as you actually start to put things down on paper, it changes a little bit.
Totally.
And
like where we are now, the house that we have now is a completely different vision than what we had envisioned, but I can't see us anywhere else. It's very important that both y'all are on board. It's probably going to be the lady or the maybe it's two ladies, maybe it's two men, but whoever has that more feminine role is encouraging y'all to do this together, and that's okay. But
we need two consensual partners here.
You can't just be doing it just to appease your partner, or it's gonna get ugly and nasty and fail in just a long, drawn out way. So if you don't want to do it, don't do it. But if you're down, be down all the way.
And what is it to be down for? Do you want to have hotter sex? Do you want to have more money? Do you want to fall back in love with your partner? Do you want to not split your family up?
Do you want to be an actual success story? Do you want to take advantage of the fucking best business coach and best partner that's literally sitting in your house at all times wanting to help you? It's like the single biggest untapped resource.
Quit looking for $100,000 coaches to shell out money to.
Fuck that. We've done them, not worth it.
In your house.
If you want to go around in circles, you two are two horses on a chariot. If you want to go around in circles, keep the configuration what it is. You work, I'll stay at home. Around in circles,
But
never going
ride.
forward. If you want to ride, if you want to go forward, if you want to make a quantum leap, and you know what a quantum leap is? Just moving directly towards a goal without getting sidetracked with all the other bullshit on the way. We have a map, it's tried, it's tested. Do you want to continue going around in circles, or do you want to go forward? Because if you want to go forward, you are only going forward together. Believe me, we've had a ton of case studies where they try every single way to get out of it. No, there's no way out of it. Forward together or in circles alone, you decide. But if you break up, you'll keep going in those circles. You just won't have somebody nagging you the whole time. But listen, if it's pulling teeth, if one partner has to be pulled and dragged to come to every single lesson, by point 3, this is going to reach a boiling point. You guys are going to, and you'll decide right there. We either cannot do this anymore or something's got to fucking change. So we've walked a lot of people through this. If anyone has to be dragged, it's not going to work. It's going to work for a few lessons, but it's not going to work in the long term.
You got to carry your own weight.
You have to. So I'm sure you have a lot of reasons of why you think that this may not work for you. And trust us, we have our own reasons of why we think it might not work for you. And we will be straight up with you about this. It is a long commitment. Doing this workshop together, we've tried just giving people the videos and say, do it on your own. No. You need to be fed this homework by homework, bite by bite. You move forward when the homework is completed. The homework is completed when it's been checked by us, audited, and we say, okay, cool, now we can move forward. To do this workshop is to be on a group chat. You and your partner, me and him. And every single bit of progress that is made is not made alone. We're watching everything that you do. We're looking at the things that you're saying and the things that you're not saying. We are deeply analyzing the relationship, looking for the strengths, looking for the weaknesses, and constantly finding ways to show you guys all of the untapped resources that exist within this marriage. If someone needs love, they're going to get love. If someone needs discipline, they're going to get discipline. But there is not one moment in this course where it's on you alone. We are holding your hand throughout the entire thing. And if you are not an exact match for this, if we don't have 2 consensual partners that are like, yeah, let's do this, let's make this happen, we don't want to spend a year of our life with you.
Yeah, we're holding your hand, we're not doing the work for you.
Exactly. We can help anyone, but we can't save anyone. So it takes 2 partners that want to do this work. To want this vision of a happy home, of equal partners, of it not being a hierarchy, not a patriarchy, not a matriarchy, but a familyarchy. A familyarchy is when the business operates as a family member, when it has the same say as another family member. It's not this 80% governing stake in your life with a bunch of other partners and uncontrollable income and uncontrollable hours just barging in and fucking up everybody's plan. If we can do this with no nanny, not sending the kids to school, we don't even have people come in and renovate our house. We do it ourselves because that's how much we value our space and our time. If we can do it with no other help, you can certainly do it with the resources you have, but you have to want it. You have to want it. You have to accept that you do not like the way that your life is. You have to accept that you're unhappy. The longer that you go on saying, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine, it's not fine, and you fucking know it, but you don't want to say it, because if you say it, then there's work that has to be done. If there's work that has to be done, you have to do 50% of it.
Don't think about the work.
I'm like, think about the work. It's going to be work.
It's going to be work, but don't dwell on the work and not even start.
But we want to hear your objections, and we onboard every single couple for erotic wealth individually.
We onboard every single couple for erotic wealth individually. And before we even start working, we need to see that if you're a match for this. So at the end of this, we'll give you our contact information. You will get our actual phone that we're filming on right now, and not our team, not a robot, not AI, us. We're going to ask you some questions to see if this is a fit for you. And if it is, we can get cracking basically right away. So I'm just gonna ask you guys a couple of questions, and let's see this. So I think we'll just create a little like heaven and hell scenario. So you guys are gonna get pretty used to me telling you homework and you having to do it right away, and then I'm gonna check it for you. So let me ask you something. If you continue to sweep things under the rug, not upgrade anything about your marriage, not upgrade anything about the business, if you were to stay for another 5 years in the exact same place that you've been stuck for the last 5 years, what impact would that have on each of you emotionally to stay stuck in the same spot for the next 5 years that you've been in for the last 5 years? Pause this video and answer. Now, if you were to stay stuck here for the next 5 years, where you've been stuck for the next 5 years, and you're feeling like that emotionally, what impact would that have on you financially to stay stuck in the same place for 5 years? So if you, I can't tell you what to say. You don't like it. So I've done this a lot. So if you were to stay stuck for the next 5 years, where you've been for the last 5 years, and you feel like this way emotionally, and it's doing these things financially, what impact do you think staying stuck for the next 5 years is going to have on your physical body? You think you're going to look good? I don't. And if you're looking this way physically, you're feeling this way emotionally, doing these things to you financially, what impact do you think staying stuck for another 5 years is going to have on the relationships closest to you? Your friends, your family, your children. What do you think this stagnation, emotionally, financially, physically, what do you think it's going to do to your personal relationships that you care so much about? Yeah, not good. It's not going to get better on its own. And if you were to feel this way physically, emotionally, financially, your closest relationships taking a hit, what impact do you think that this would have on your relationship with the divine? Would you feel like there was divine help available for you, or would you continue to think that the universe wants basically the bare minimum for you? Cool. So good job. I know you answered all of those questions, because if you didn't get through those, this workshop is not going to be a good fit for you. This is all homework based. The videos are one thing, but it's what you do with them that makes the difference. And that's why we're checking your homework the whole entire time. So let's flip it. If you were to radically change everything this year, upgrade all systems, upgrade all areas of your relationship, get rid of the old tricks, get new tricks, refresh everything, what impact would a complete revitalization of your life, what impact would that have on you emotionally? Pause and answer. And if you were to completely renovate all areas of your life, upgrade all areas of your life, what impact would that have on you financially? Would you be an inspiration to other people, you think? You see how the universe might prefer, or might be a little bit more excited to have people who are inspired and inspiring others versus people that are just stagnating? Like, you make a pretty big impact in the world. And if you had renovated all these areas of your life, and you were feeling really good financially, you were feeling really good emotionally, what impact do you think that that would have on your physical body? And if your body was looking like that, and your bank account was looking like that, and emotionally you were feeling like that, what impact do you think that that would have on your closest personal relationships? How do you think your family would respond? And finally, if you were doing like this well financially, if you were looking this good physically, feeling this good emotionally, your relationships were thriving,
What do you think how do you think that would make you feel about your relationship with the divine? So now we have some pretty easy leverage. This is what happens if you don't do it, and this is what happens if you do. Results are guaranteed if you do the work. You don't do the work, I'm sorry, can't help you. It's going to be hard at certain points. It's going to be hard about a third of the way into it. It's going to be hard 2/3 of the way into it. And right before the finish line, it's going to be really hard. You will not get your reward before the finish line, but it doesn't mean it's all going to be misery. You will feel things working. You will feel things changing. You will have a different relationship to everything that you thought was broken in your life. Everything that felt unsolvable will be solved, but it's not going to happen early. And why should they do this now? Why not wait another 5 years?
If you're feeling like it's the work you need to do, then there's a problem. And that problem is not going to go away. It's only going to grow and get harder to do, to fix.
When the erotic is dead, it does not spontaneously come back to life unless a third party comes in and wags its tits in your face and takes you off on an erotic ride somewhere else. When the erotic dies, you have to consciously bring it back to life. You have to consciously revive it. Otherwise, it will stay dead, and the deep craving for curiosity, excitement, and a new experience will be presented in the form of other people, other situations, things outside of the marriage. This is not going to get better spontaneously. It's not going to get better accidentally. And even if it does, wherever success happens on accident, it destroys itself. When we accidentally revive the erotic in our relationship by fantasizing about having an open marriage, it very quickly destroyed not only itself, but we made fucking asses out of ourselves in the meantime. Mainly me, because I was the one running the business exclusively at that point, and I was demonstrating everything online. So if you know that this is something that you want to do and that you're curious about it, I'd like to invite you to take the next step. I want you to come in and do the first module with us. Now, module 1 on its own is a lot of work. So before we even get you excited about that, we want to vet you and see if you're a fit or not. This is totally private. This is not a group workshop. It's you and us together, looking at every single aspect of your life and business. If you think that this is a fit for you and you're curious to know more, please contact us at the number listed below and in the end screen, and we will personally talk to you there. Please send us a selfie so that we know who we're talking to. Anything else you want to add? Look, it's not too late to turn things around. It's not too late to turn things around. And as happy as I was before, I had no idea how much better it would feel to be with somebody that I'm in love with instead of just loving. To be able to work together towards something that we both love, and to be able to make really stupid money doing it as well.
Y'all have a lot more potential of success together.
Oh, way more. The wealth is such an added bonus. But to be able to have some of the months that we've had, and to have built a system that works so well, and now it's just printing money, to be able to it's not all about the money, but in this workshop, it's 50% about the money. And it's amazing how when you're working together and you're holy shit, we are actually getting closer to all of these goals because of the work that we're doing together. And can you believe that we did this? And can you believe that we did that? We're not cutting in a bunch of other people. It's us together doing this. it's very easy to be proud of yourself when you're cranking it out financially. And instead of trying to learn how to live with less, how to settle for less and be grateful, I think it's just as easy to settle for more, and it's a lot more fun as well.
If you're here, it's not too late.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot more that's going to be discovered,
Mm-hmm.
uncovered, that you're going to find out about yourself. So this is the first step, onward and upward. Let's
Mm-hmm.
move forward. Forget about all the things you feel like you fucked up, let down people with in the past, and let's just move forward with our
Mm-hmm.
chin up.
Yeah, the past is the past. And if there's any chance that you're watching this alone, or maybe even with your partner, but you're feeling alone and watching this right now and you're like, oh, there's no way they're going to be down for that. By any chance, is that an assumption? Because assumptions are the absolute death of eroticism. Saying, I already know every trick that this pony has, why even go and ask?
Mm-hmm.
So instead of assuming, ask them, would you like to do a 10-session workshop on how to use sex magic to create more wealth? Would you like to do a 10-session workshop on how to use sex magic to create more wealth? And if the answer is no, you gotta thank them for being straight up with you. But don't assume it's a no, because that is just digging the grave deeper.
Yeah, don't assume you can see the future.
Don't assume shit. Okay. Hey.
When busy streets a mess with people would stop to hold their hands. What you say? Oh, that you only meant well, because you did. What you say? That it's all for the best, because it is. What you say? That it's just what we need. You decided this. What you say? What did she say?